Hi, this is Karen Dice, founder of Mortgage Girlfriends, and I've been doing social media for several years now. And I'm doing Facebook, Twitter, Active Rain, and I'm a guest blogger on several mortgage blogs. And by the way, I hope you read my regular blog that we post on Tuesdays on the Mortgage Girlfriends website. But the one thing I have to tell you that's always eluded me is trying to figure out how to create other blogs using WordPress sites. And in talking with other mortgage girlfriends recently, they seem to have the same problem. They want a blog, they want to get their name out there, but they just don't know how to do it. So a few months ago, I flew to Scottsdale to attend the Mortgage Tech Summit, and that's when I met this awesome person, Michael Erdman, who owns My Smart Blog, who took time to walk me through the process. And I begged him to put together a class for the women in the mortgage industry because he was so easy to understand, and I know that you're going to get a lot of information from him. And just in a little less than about 45 minutes, you're going to learn how to set up your own blog step by step. And I also talked Michael into providing us a handout with 30 different topics you can blog about, so you'll never have to be without something to say. Like us women have hardly anything to say, right? So there's a lot to cover in this class. I want to get started right away and introduce my new friend, Michael Erdman from My Smart Blog.
All right. Thank you so much, Karen, and I'm very excited to be here. It's really nice to be able to spend some time with the Mortgage Girlfriends, and of course, as I know how much you give back to the industry, I'm honored that you took the opportunity to invite me to share the information. So thank you so much.
You're welcome, and I would love to have you kind of give us a little bit about your background, Michael. It's really impressive.
Great. Thanks so much. Well, yeah, I'll share a little bit about myself. I don't want to take too much time because I really want to give a lot of information and give people the meat so they can get started right away to improve their business. But just a little bit of background. I do own and started a company called My Smart Blog just a couple of years ago. It's really focused on how we teach salespeople how to use technology, especially leveraging social media, to be able to drive deeper relationships and more referral business. And I think everybody on the line or watching the webinar would love to know how to be able to get more referral business. And so that's really the focus of what I do. I happen to also write some. I was published as a co-author in a bestseller on Amazon called The Art and Science of Success, and we've seen some really exciting things happen with that. I also, though, as a point for the mortgage girlfriends, spent 15 years in the mortgage industry. So I actually own my own brokerage in the Pacific Northwest and sat in the desk of originators and know exactly how it feels to be able to try to create those trusted relationships and be able to generate that referral business, which, of course, is so valuable. And that really forms everything that I do, is really asking how do these tools relate to the way it works to really originate mortgages on the ground. And I think that's an area where sometimes it gets missed with technologists. So I'll cover that here in the presentation. And now what I do is, after starting this company, and we've seen a lot of success as people have been able to implement our product and see a lot of really quick commission increase and more transaction volume with it, I now travel around all over the country and I speak about relationship marketing and technology and really how to mix the two together. So that's a little background about me, but I'd love to be able to jump right into the presentation.
Go right ahead, babe.
Okay, so next slide. The first thing I want to tell you about is there's three main reasons that I see people in the sales industry that tend to fail online. And one of the major things that we want to start with is that too many times we get sucked into the idea that more expensive or a bigger investment in technology will get us better results. And the challenge with that is that a lot of times there's one thing, I think a lot of us, we want to buy our way to success, and we think if we just throw money at the problem, it will go away. And what's interesting in regards to technology, when you look at how things really work, how sales transactions really happen, and how relationships are developed, most of the things that you find technologists offering us to be able to invest in don't match up with statistically how most transactions happen. And there's a number of ways that we can get sucked into that, but it's like we see a new idea that we think, wow, that's a new idea. I haven't been doing anything like that. Let me invest in this new technology or this new strategy that doesn't really relate to what I'm doing right now or what's been working in my business, and I'll try to just put some money there and see if that can generate leads. And what's interesting is that when we get right back down to the statistics of what really works in our industry, it is all about developing new relationships, casting a wider net, and then consistently communicating with people to drive relationship. along with, of course, delivering world-class service. So the first thing that I would like to tell people is some of the best solutions in technology that really overlay what actually does work on the ground are actually not very expensive. In fact, in some cases, they're free. And I'm going to cover that today on the webinar, is some things like the WordPress platform is a free platform, and it's really the most effective thing that people can use to communicate online. So number one thing to watch out for is to really make sure that if you're making an investment in technology, that you know that it relates well with how real relationships are formed and how real transactions work on the ground. So the next slide is the second thing, and what I'm showing here on the webinar is a dry lake bed. And the idea with this is that so many times, again, we get sucked into what I call focusing in the wrong pond or fishing in the wrong pond. One of the things that I like to cover as an illustration here is so many people talk about search engine optimization, and this is one of those things that's very important to technologists, is they say, hey, you got to be on the front page of Google. But what's interesting if you look at that is that it's very expensive to get to the front page of Google, or it takes an incredible amount of time to get that time investment made so that you can get your website up to those kind of search results, especially when you're dealing with really competitive search strings. Like, for instance, let's say you wanted to get in the front page of FHA Mortgage Chicago, for instance. You know, I usually tell people that would cost probably $3,000 to $5,000 a month in work. It's literally almost hiring a full-time employee or hiring a firm to be able to work on that to get you your results up there. And the unfortunate thing is that when you look at the way that real transactions happen, a click-through online just doesn't a lot of times relate to an actual deal in the pipeline. And that's supported by a lot of statistics, you know, that are out there published every year. One of the things, the Buyer and Seller Report by National Association of Realtors talks about the fact that just last year, over 50% of all buyer transactions happened by repeat business or referral, and over 70% of all listing transactions by repeat business or referral. Now, I know that we're talking to mortgage people here, but of course we're directly tied to the same demographic as that real estate industry. And the reality is that when people are taking, you know, getting started in a high-trust, high-relationship purchase, something that's one of the most important things that they invest in their entire life, they usually aren't going to make the decision of who they use off of a search result with a click. Now, what they will do is they'll go and they'll find out information. So people use the Internet to be able to glean a lot of information, and then what they do is they assemble all that information in their mind, and then they go back and they ask someone who they know, like, and trust for a referral for someone who can actually deliver the goods for them. So what this is all about is we can, again, technologists would say, because the technology is the bright, shiny object, is, hey, get yourself to the front page of Google. There's some ego in that. And they'd say, hey, do this, spend a lot of money getting yourself up here. But what the problem is that that's just not going to relate to putting a deal in the pipeline. And so what I tell people to do is, if you had two ponds to fish in, and one of them was responsible for 50 to 70% of all transactions, which is this repeat and referral business, or you had the second pond to fish in, which is kind of the pure online generated leads. The statistic, again, from NAR, this one's a couple years ago for the latest statistic, but it was only about 5% of all transactions nationwide were done by a pure internet generated lead. So would you rather fish in the 50 to 70% pond or the 5% pond? Especially when the 5% pond is really a lot more expensive to try to get results in. I always like to get people to refocus and say, let's make sure that if we're going to spend money in technology and we're going to spend time in technology, let's make sure that it's doing things that really support our business in originating loans. So that brings us on to the next slide. And there's a third reason that people generally fail online. It really comes down to more of the way that we're wired. And I'm speaking from experience here because I'm a salesperson too. And the hardest thing about sales, especially in the mortgage industry, is that we never have 2 days that are exactly the same. The phone rings, we've got a deal that blows up, we've got to do some things. And no matter how hard we try to time block and we try to focus on getting specific things done, many times our marketing and communications suffers just because we're so busy. And what's interesting about technology is that most of the technology that's offered to people in the sales industry are one of two types. The first type that's offered is the course. So we teach someone a course. We require them to sit down at the computer and go through a series of videos or seminars or some other way to be able to get them to point and click on their computer to learn a new skill. And I don't know if anyone on the webinar is like me, but I end up having a lot of, they call them, instead of being software, they call them shelfware, because I see the idea and I love the idea. I want to implement it. A lot of times I invest in it, and then it ends up sitting on my shelf because I just don't get around to implementing it. And so it's very difficult that way. And the second thing is we end up getting technologies that are just that they require a lot of user maintenance. So they may be a great, like for instance, a CRM system might be a great tool if a person could implement it well. The challenge is finding the time or taking, prioritizing it in a way that you actually go in and put the information in there and use it consistently. I always tell the story that for me, like ACT, back, this is a while back when I was using ACT in my mortgage business. And, of course, I was doing some consistent marketing with ACT, but instead of using it as a CRM, the only thing I really did it for was once a month I would go in and I'd print out my mailing labels. So at least I did that, and of course that was a strong part of my marketing was my newsletter to my database. But at the same time, I never really implemented the power of it because I never focused in that area. And so the third thing, what I'm showing on the screen right now, this gal, just with the frustration, is that too many times technologists build tools that require us to interface on a consistent basis with the tool in order to make it effective. And the reality is that just doesn't match up with the way that we operate as salespeople. So we have to find solutions that are automated and outsourced, things that will actually support us and give us a foundation to work from and not require our daily interaction with them to make them successful. And so that's really leads into what I want to talk about here with our, the system we're going to share with you is how can we take some of these tools, like using WordPress as a platform, and then put some automation and consistency behind it that allow it to work with or without us there. So the next slide I'm going to show you is I'd just like to talk to people about, again, reinforcing why social media has become so important, over the last few years. There's a statistic that was put out by Eric Qualman, who wrote a book called Socialnomics, and is really one of the thought leaders in social media. But the latest statistics that they did some research and showed that 90% of people trust a peer recommendation when deciding on a product or service to invest in. And what's interesting is I think there's a lot of ways we can relate this to our own behavior, what we do. So 90% of people, but the really striking thing is that only 14% of people trust an advertisement done by a company. Now, as an individual loan officer, we can think about ourselves as the company, and the difference is what do we get other people saying about us in the marketplace versus what do we get out and kind of pat ourselves on the back and talk about ourselves doing. The reality is that it's almost 10, that's at least almost 10 to 1, really, of if you can get other people talking about you and the service that you provide and giving that third-party endorsement, it's that much more powerful when other people find out that information than if you were to try to advertise yourself to be able to get business. I think what's important about that to understand is that social media really is the only way that's ever come about where we can really start to employ using testimonials, even video testimonials, and other ways where we can get third-party endorsements and introduce new customers to that information even before they ever talk to us and start to build trust and credibility, which, of course, eases the sales process. So, next slide. What I want you to understand about that particular topic is that I want you to really think about how you do your own purchasing. So what I have on the screen right now are a number of different brands, Amazon.com, Netflix, Priceline, Expedia, eBay. And these are companies that most of us have at this point either looked at items on or even made a purchase or for some item or service on these from these brands. And what I always like to do when I'm doing a presentation, especially live, I get a great reaction from the crowd because I want you to think about the fact of when you last used these services. And when you were looking at that, before you actually decided to buy the product or the service that you were taking a look at the time, I want you to ask yourself, did you go down and look at the peer reviews? And really more importantly, did the peer reviews make a difference on whether you bought that product or maybe searched for a different product that more people liked? Or were the positive reviews strong enough that you decided to go ahead and purchase? The key is, did those reviews make a difference in what you bought? What's interesting about that, though, is that the referral business before social media was all about your local sphere of influence. It was about the people that you know, like, and trust, and the people that they know, and it always was a result of someone who had personal knowledge of you making a referral. The transition that's happened in social media and a lot of these sites, and those reviews, customer reviews, are really, that's another part of social media and being able to be active in that social media realm, is that people now are putting more stock into what people they don't know say about products and services than even the people that they do know a lot of times. In other words, they're out going and searching for items, searching for services. They're actually looking at the way that other people have interacted with that product or service provider and using their experience as kind of a determinant of whether or not they move forward. And I think that's an amazing shift in the way that we work socially And I think as we go on over the next 5 to 10 years, it's even going to get more that way as people are continuing to be more and more wired into, doing background investigation and making purchase decisions using the internet. So let's go with, I hope that gives a good baseline of why we should be involved with social media and why we need to have a good quality presence. And so that when people are doing their background investigation before they actually give us a call when they've gotten that referral, that we actually present a good quality image online. So let's go to the next slide. So let's talk about the blogs real quick. This is kind of the core of what, it's very popular out in the marketplace even still. It's been around for a little while, but even still today, if you listen to the best technologists out there, the people who really understand social media, everyone's saying the same thing. The center of the universe of your social media marketing needs to be your own blog. And so we're going to go through, and I'm going to talk to you a little bit about each, some of the details, the things that have taken me, now 2 years and a lot of personal time and investment to get the best-in-class stuff, the absolute best stuff that you can use to get your blogging strategy off and running and put some automation behind it. And literally, after this webinar, you'll be able to do this. And if you want to do it yourself, be able to go off and run and do it yourself and have it working for you and generating business right away. And then, of course, at the end, there are sometimes the people that want to be able to just automate and outsource this and get it done. I'll give you an opportunity to be able to take that a little bit further with me if you choose to as well. So on the next slide, I want to show you, this is what I was talking about. This is an illustration of how you can put WordPress, which is the blogging foundation, at the center of the universe of your social media. And the idea here is how you're able to be able to enter content one time and then be able to broadcast that out, or what we call syndicate it out, through all of those other social media networks. So that when you enter at one time, you don't have to go to each individual resource like Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, and individually copy it over and put that content in there. You can just use some tools and resources, enter the information one time and publish it, and the next thing you know, it's automatically sent out to all these different venues where people can see it, and then it creates links back to your site. And it's the new way of being able to get traffic to your site. And if you think about it, this is, again, one of those things where you could either pay a lot of money to get search engine optimization to have someone who you don't know or doesn't have any connection to you click a link and try to get to your site, or you spend hardly no money at all, but a little bit of time investment in setting a system up the right way. And when you broadcast content out through your social media network and get people to like, comment, or share on that high-value content, the next thing you know, it's broadcasting out these magnets. When people that they know click on it, it takes them back to your website and now makes an introduction. But it does more than just the introduction, because the introduction's been made by someone that they know, like, and trust. It carries that bridge of trust across. So now you're starting to use online the same strategies that you employ offline to generate referral business. This is the direction the whole web is going, by the way. The most effective way that the Internet works is when it's as close of a replication to the offline world as possible. And we're seeing this happen with things like Google with their social search, which is now changing your search results based on who you know and what content people that you know, like, and trust have shared, liked, or commented on out in the social media marketplace. So pretty cool stuff. Next slide. Let's talk about what WordPress is. Well, WordPress is a foundation. It's actually a blog. It's a publishing software that allows people to interface with the internet more easily and not have to pay hundreds or thousands of dollars to a web developer to be able to update their website consistently. It's one of the most popular technology frameworks in the world. There's over 100,000 new WordPress sites being published daily. It seems mind-boggling, but of course it's a worldwide system, and of course at its foundation, again, WordPress is free. I'm going to go over a couple of different styles of WordPress to make sure you use the right one. There's over 20% of the new sites worldwide are using WordPress, and there's a reason for that, because this Web 2.0 thing, which is really about two-way communication, it's the way that you are able to put out information and then people are able to comment back. It's the same as those stores that have peer reviews on the products. That's what Web 2.0 is really all about. And the difference of the frameworks in the old style, the first version of the web, or Web 1.0, we built sites that were more like billboards or business cards. We could put good content there and even build some really cool functionality, but there was no way to really broadcast that content out to the world through these social media networks. That required a new type of framework, and that's where these content management systems like WordPress came about, because they're easier to be able to publish content out to the world and syndicate it to these other channels, and then to inspire that two-way communication. So there's a reason it's growing so fast and it's so widely used. And when you are going to make a technology investment, of course, it's important to do that with the best-in-class tools that are the most current and relevant, rather than investing in a technology that maybe is a little bit outdated and won't serve you as well going forward. That's not to say that some of the tools that are out there in the industry aren't great. And many times in our situation, if someone already has a website, say through their company, they have an online loan application that's tied to Fannie, their Fannie Freddie loan application that imports right into their loan origination software. Many times we'll say, hey, keep that and use it. In the web world, it's not either or. A lot of times it's and more. So you really want to look at your WordPress platform as your online communications nerve center, and use that to be able to, again, push content out, get people and traffic back, and then give them ways to engage. And then they can always link from that WordPress website over to that online application, and that's what we do for our clients, so that you get the best of both worlds, really. But if you're going to be, on a personal level, putting out content, you want to be able to use the best framework, and that's WordPress. So on the next slide, what we're talking about here is big companies that use WordPress. I always like people to know, if you haven't really, I think a lot of people have heard of WordPress, but they just don't know a lot about it. But even if you haven't heard about it, people want to know, well, is it stable? Is it a good quality framework? These are 4, obviously, major brands that are using WordPress as the foundation of their website. So we got the Wall Street Journal, Sony, People Magazine, CNN.com. All these guys are using WordPress to be able to get their content out. So it's obviously very well tested. It's a bulletproof framework to be able to build your online real estate, and so you can be sure that as you grow, you can get started with it today. But no matter how large you want to take it, it'll always be working well for you in the future too. So. Like people to understand that. But let's jump into the 2 different types of WordPress. What we've got here is the 2 different styles of WordPress. The first is WordPress.com, and that's a free system that is basically, you go there, and it's kind of like if you went and worked with your marketing on Facebook or on LinkedIn. What I always like to tell people is WordPress.com, it's a great way to get started, but it's not very flexible in terms of how you can grow your brand and put different kinds of tools in place on your website. And it's kind of like the rent versus own argument. I think in the real estate industry, we always talk about the fact that we believe that people should own their homes. Well, the difference between WordPress.com and the next one I'm going to show you, which is WordPress.org, and that's the best one for you to use, is WordPress.com is kind of like renting online real estate. It's free. It's easy to get started. There are some upgrades that require money. You have to pay to remove the ads they put on there now, and you have to pay for a few other issues. But at the same time, it's kind of like training wheels, if you will. It's a way to be able to get started soon. The best thing to do is, if you have started on WordPress.com, is just make a transition. It's easy to export all your content, import it into a .org installation, and then you'll be set up. So next slide. The .org installation is again, free to install. You just have to have your own server or your own hosting account, and I'll cover that here in a minute. But now you have complete control over everything you do with the site, from the layout and the design, all the plugins, which are little pieces of software that do specific things. You have complete control over that. And you can expand it and add anything that you want. And again, some of these huge brands are using the same exact framework to be able to drive their businesses. So you can tell that it's something that you can make a lot of really cool things happen, and you own it. No one can ever take it away. The caution I always tell people on social media is, if you say, hey, I'm going to do social media and I'm going to go make my strategy Facebook, and you decide to go out and really pour a lot of time, energy, and money and attention into Facebook, remember that you're building, it's kind of like you're playing in their sandbox, and they can change it at any time. They just recently went through a massive update in the way things are displayed on Facebook, and a lot of people got a little frustrated with that because they had spent a lot of time and energy putting their systems together on Facebook a certain way, and some of the new rollout actually made those not work nearly as well. So again, it's always important, own your own online real estate. The best way to do that is with this WordPress.org installation. So here's a couple of examples. Here's an example of a couple of the way it looks. Now, this is our website, mysmartblog.com, and you can see that that's got a certain look and feel where we have the video in the upper right corner there, and the menu at the top right, and logo in the top left, and the different color schemes. That's what we're going to talk about that in a second. That's called a theme. But I wanted to show you in the next slide a different theme. So this is also WordPress. It's just put together in a different way. This is an example of our Smart Blog product, and this is Susan Callahan, who's a great producing loan officer down in Florida, actually. And but you can see the ability to change the look and feel and get different color schemes and all that kind of stuff. You can really change the look and feel of your WordPress website by choosing a theme. This is another one of our customers, Lisa Lund, a very successful loan officer here. And you can see how this, even though it's in the same type of framework, actually looks a lot different as well. So you're getting changing color schemes, custom images, all those different things that you can put together. And that all has to do with changing the look and feel of the site through different themes or, again, different graphic design and such. Next slide. What we want to do now is I'm going to show you the 3 simple steps to get your WordPress website installed and working. The first thing is you want to register your own domain name. So you use services like Namecheap or GoDaddy, or there's a number of other domain registrars, by the way, but they're pretty inexpensive. I always like to tell people, make sure you always register your own domain name. A lot of companies will throw that in and say, hey, we'll even give you a free domain name. The problem that happens if you let them register it is they actually legally own your domain name, and sometimes can hold you hostage for that. It's not uncommon for people to say, hey, no, you can't have your domain name back because we own it. I always tell people it's really important. It's about $10 a year to own your own domain name and renew it. Register it in your own registrar account, and then just let the webmaster or the person that you hire make the adjustments for you, or even just get the information from them and make the adjustment yourself. But you always want to be in control of that. The first thing is get your own domain name. If you can get your first name, lastname.com, if it's still available, do that, or something that has your name or keywords in the domain. That's the most important thing. The second thing is you need a hosting account. A hosting account is where your website files will reside, and that's how you actually install the WordPress framework. Now, pretty much every hosting account now comes with an automatic one-click installation for WordPress, so it makes it pretty easy. I would say it's simple. It's not easy, but it's simple to do, and there's lots of videos online that you can find that'll show you how to install WordPress on a hosting account. But go to HostGator, Bluehost, GoDaddy, any of those folks, get a simple hosting account. It's about $10 a month to be able to have a hosting account, and just do the one-click install with WordPress, and then you'll actually have the framework installed on your server and ready to go. And then the next part is the most difficult or time-consuming part, which is actually setting the website up. So that includes all the things I'm going to go through here in a minute. What I always like to caution people at this point is it is free. So in other words, you get your hosting account, which is relatively inexpensive, and the domain name's very inexpensive. But the thing is, you do have to weigh your time against how much time it takes. It's a great investment, don't get me wrong, because you can generate a lot of business and it will work for you forever once you have it set up. But you do have to be realistic and understand that if you're going to do it yourself, it's going to take you about 20 to 40 hours to learn how to install and customize and put all the plugins and everything together to get your website to where you would want it as a professional look and feel. So I just have to warn you right now that that's the case. If you expect it going in, then you know what you have to go through. I feel like that's the fair way to do it. But at the same time, the results are fantastic. So, again, that's the reason normally you look at a WordPress installation with graphic design and kind of some of the things that I've been showing you. You're going to look at between $2,000 and $4,000 of investment to be able to do that simply because of the amount of time. Because for a developer, it takes a similar amount of time to be able to make that happen for you as well. Now, the good news is there's lots of way less expensive ways to get that done. Obviously, this way, doing it yourself. And we'll talk about one that's drastically less expensive here shortly as well. What we want to start with is once you get the site installed, you want to go through your themes. The theme is, again, how you change the look and feel. There's thousands of free themes available out on the Internet. There's also what we call premium themes, and these are companies that actually you have to pay a little bit of money for the theme, but you can usually get a little bit higher quality look and feel. And a more important thing is that WordPress is a foundation that's always changing. So there's always upgrades that have to happen to the software, security upgrades, there's usability upgrades, and things that have to be managed on the back end. And so usually when you go with a premium theme provider, there are people who are going to stay on top of those and make sure that their themes are always working with all the new upgrades going forward. So again, it's one of those things that sometimes when you invest a little bit of money, you get a lot of return. This is the place where you'd want to do that. I put the 3 best ones on the screen that I promote, that I think are the best ones. Studio Press Genesis, which is the one that we use for our Smart Blog product, and then our own website is on the Woo Themes platform, so mysmartblog.com is using Woo Themes. That gives you an idea of the different companies and different look and feel. And then iThemes, which also has great themes but also has some really cool plugins that they produce as well. All 3 companies are great companies. What you have to expect is that for a good quality premium theme, you're going to spend about $75 to $100 for that theme. It's a great investment because you're going to have a better quality theme. It's going to work well and be maintained better going forward. Next slide. The next thing that you want to do is you want to get your graphic design done. And here's an area where you really can't skimp. And you just have to go back to your own experience. How many times have you actually gone to a website, you've clicked through, and it just didn't look very professional? I mean, you look at a website and it's not put together well, kind of all jumbled together, and you immediately clicked off and went to something else. You made a judgment immediately that that was not going to be worth your time spending there. What I always like to tell people is you've all heard the saying before, you never get a second chance for a first impression. And you have to take that in the online world and multiply it 1,000 times. Because literally people, they make a decision in seconds of whether or not they're going to spend time on a site. And if it's a referral client who's doing getting background information before they make that call to you, and they go and you don't look professional online, you've really done some damage to yourself in terms of being able to get that client, because they just won't see you as professional and credible today without having a high-quality presence. So graphic design is something you definitely want to make sure you have right. I put on the slide here a number of different areas that you need to pay attention to, like header image, sidebar images, slideshow images, opt-in boxes, which is and call to action images, places where you can get engagement. And the good news is that it's not as expensive as it used to be to get really high-quality graphic design. I'm going to show you a resource right now that actually has just revolutionized graphic design all across the world. So next slide. This is 99 Designs. 99 Designs, if you haven't heard from them, it's 99designs.com, is a worldwide crowdsourcing site. And what that means is that in the old school, what would happen is if you wanted to get, let's say, a logo designed, you'd call a local designer and you'd ask them to design a logo for you, and it'd cost usually between $500 and $1,000 to be able to get that logo done. And the traditional thing would be, hey, I'm going to give you 2 or maybe 3 concepts, ideas, and out of that you're going to pick one of those 3, and then I'm going to give you two revisions, and that's it. That's your $500 to $1,000. It's one person's idea, revised a couple of times, and you just get what you get. Here's the difference of what's happening online. Now you go online at 99designs.com and start a contest. And with this contest, you put in the parameters of what you're interested in. And then you offer a prize, and their prize, say, $295, flat fee. Well, what happens is people from all over the world, great designers from all over the world, will then compete to win your business by turning in ideas. And you literally can get hundreds of people competing to be able to do this. Now, it lasts for 1 week. The cool thing about it is that you go in, and after they've turned in their first ideas in the first day or so, you start seeing them come in, you can start rating the ones that are the closest to your vision, to what you really like. And the ones that you rate go to the top of the list. Now, here's where it really gets interesting. All of the other designers can see which ones that you're rating the best. So they all go back and they start revising their graphic design work to match what you are already seeing. So you can start to see how this is pushing 100 different designers all towards the same goal, trying to get you the absolute best product. I love that illustration of the efficiency of the web and being able to pull people in from all over the world to do the work. And that's just one example. So you can go to 99designs.com. You can get any kind of, for the website or any other graphic design work that you want done, you can get it done there. You can get it done less expensively, but also get a great quality of work done. And, man, like they say on there, when designers compete, you win. So that's a great resource for you.
Michael, on this, I'm telling you, this is absolutely worth it. If anybody who's looking to even design a logo for their company, their website, their business card, or whatever it might be, I have a question though. What you think is the normal price that people should put out there as a contest prize?
Well, they have some limitations on some minimums that you have to do, and I think that they have a lower, like. Let me just say that on this, Karen, that they have limitations on each contest with 99 Designs, and I think there is a lower one of like 195. But what you end up getting is you get less people who participate for that. There's also, they even give you a thing where you can actually not select any winner, so it's like not a guaranteed prize, which you can potentially lower the cost. My feeling is that it's the image, the online image, is such an integral part of how people judge you when they come to your website that it's probably worth their suggested fee of $295 for if you were going to do a logo. Okay, yeah, it's one of those things where, and this isn't the only site. You can look for online design contest type sites, and of course, when it works for one company, there's other companies that spring up and do the same thing. So you can look at some other ideas as well, but this is just one I know that you get great quality results, and it's just, I really wanted to illustrate the model because the model is so cool. What we've got here is I wanted to give you a list of the absolute best plugins. Now, this is something, there's, again, thousands of plugins, and plugins are little pieces of software that will actually do different things. So the functionality, making things happen on the site. And there's literally, there's probably hundreds of thousands of them out there that you could choose from. A lot of them are free, some of them are premium. This is, I don't know, I tend to think this is probably one of the most valuable slides in this whole slide deck because these are the best ones. And so if you use these, I mean, this will cut so much time and energy out of your research in trying to make the best quality WordPress site that you can if you just use these ones that I've got on the screen right here. So I'm not going to go through each one in detail, but I'm just going to read them off real quickly and mention what they're for so that you get an idea. The first one is SEO by Yoast. It creates XML sitemaps, and that does keep your WordPress website, which is the best framework for getting search engine optimization. It's the best one. You have to have a plugin to really facilitate that, SEO by Yoast is one of the best out there. Google Analytics, it's a free thing provided by Google, but you can plug that right in. You do have to install some software into your WordPress website, which is this Google Analytics plugin, but then you can just take the little code and you can measure every single visitor, where they go. Right now, they even rolled out something where you can literally see it real time. So you can see exactly who's on your site right now, where they're going, what pages they're looking at, and that stuff becomes important for measuring and getting better conversions down the road. So it's important to measure that. Gravity forms. If you want to put opt-in forms, you want to put other types of submission forms or content you want people to do, you need to use a good quality form plugin. Gravity Forms is by far the best one in the market. I put the $39 there because it is a premium plugin. It's about a $39 investment for an individual user license. It's worth it. You want to pay the extra $39 to be able to get that. Sexy Bookmarks is actually by a company called Shareaholic. It's actually a social sharing plugin that automatically attaches all the social media links to every single blog post that you put out in your website, and so that people, as they're reading it, if they find it interesting, they can, again, click a button and automatically share it to their Facebook page or Facebook profile. What's important about that is when people do that, it becomes an online referral for you, so you want to make it very easy for people to share content as they're on your site reading information and then going out and sending that out to other people. That's what we were talking about. That creates those third-party endorsements by getting your content out in that viral nature. The next one is Smart YouTube. Smart YouTube is a free plugin. It's the absolute best YouTube plugin out on the market today. Millions of installations of this plugin. It's a fantastic one, and makes it really easy. You just upload your video to YouTube, cut and paste the URL into this little piece of software, and it automatically puts it into your website, formatted and everything. Makes it super easy to do. So great one. Display Buddy is how we get good quality slideshow images. There's a number of other ways that you get good aesthetics, the way that your site looks. And Display Buddy is a group of plugins that make that happen. It's $150. Again, it's a very good investment because it allows you really simply to add these slideshows and other types of aesthetics to your website that will really improve the look and feel. So again, a little bit of an investment, but long-term, I believe it's worth it. Automatic WordPress backup. You always want to back up your data. That's the one thing that when it's left to us to do it on our own, so many times we forget about it. You can automate that process with WordPress using the right plugins, and so important to do that. W3 Total Cache is a way that you make the site actually respond faster, so it's what we call a caching plugin. Without getting into a bunch of the technical details, just understand that if your site doesn't run quickly, people won't stay there. So you want to put that in place so that people actually do. Next one is Pop-Up Domination, which is a lead capture device. Best one in the market. It increases your conversions online like crazy. You can give away a free report, give away a video series or an autoresponder series or some other thing that will get people to opt into your list. And then once you have them in your list, now you can continue to drip on them and market to them. And the key is that's, again, an automated process that continues to build credibility for you, and then they call you or they contact you when they're ready to buy. It's a great way to start building your sales funnel online. It's a $77 investment, well worth it to be able to maximize those conversions online. And it ties right together with your email software as well to put autoresponders in place. The other ones are some cool, rate quote widget. One of my friends, Dan Green, he wrote this one. It's an awesome plugin that it literally automates the process of lead generation online. So it installs right into your website. I may even be able to show you an example of that here in the slide deck, I believe. But people enter their information for a rate quote, and it automatically then sends them an email back to make sure they're a real person. And when they respond to that email, it then sends you the lead. So it starts to cull out the people who aren't really serious, but it does a great job with autoresponders built in and everything. And, by the way, it's free. So that is a huge value. And then Real Estate Chart of the Day is another one in social media widget, is how you connect your social profiles to your on your blog so that people can click and get directly to your social profiles and then connect with you there. So a lot of information I know on that slide, but it is great, valuable information. What I do need you to know is that if you're kind of adding this up in your head as I'm going through all these things, just understand that all of these things are included in our Smart Blog product. We automatically include every single one of these. We have the developer licenses to all of these plugins, themes, everything there. So I just want you to keep that in mind as we're going through this as well. As an example of pop-up domination and what that looks like when it comes up on your site, gives people the ability to opt in, and of course does an incredible job getting more customers in your list. This next slide is MailChimp, and this is another free service for building your email list, and that using this email service, which is free, ties in with pop-up domination so that you can start to collect those email addresses and start to build those autoresponder campaigns as well. I think if you get into the autoresponders, there's a little bit of an upcharge, but still very inexpensive to have the automation and efficiency working for you. So the next slide is, let's jump into content real quick, because everybody wonders, where in the heck am I going to get all the content that I'm going to put in the blog? There's a couple of different ways that you can easily get content. One is Google Alerts. Now, Google Alerts, the way that works, and you can, again, just go search Google for Google Alerts. It'll take you right there. But you can enter any keywords that you want to be able to monitor, and Google scours the entire web, and anytime those keywords come up, it'll actually alert you to that. So it'll actually do it either daily or weekly. It'll send you a report with links to all of the stories on the web or all of the details of those keywords that you're interested in. So if you want to use your name, for instance, you'd put your name in as a Google alert, and every time your name comes up on the web for anything, you would automatically be notified. That's good for a whole bunch of reasons. Brand management is one of them, but you can also use it for stuff in your local area, give you good ideas for content, and then use and repurpose that content in order to get it out on your blog. One important point here, you don't have to write it all yourself. You should be the kind of the center of communication for people, where you're gathering good quality stuff and then sharing it out. Some of the most, I mean, if you think about news organizations, they do write some content themselves, but most of the stuff comes off of the newswire, and they're just sharing the information out, and they become a hub where people look to them for information. That's really what you want to do on the web as well, is become a resource for people. And so you can do that by sharing other good quality content. RSS is another way where you can subscribe to other websites that have good quality content, and then you can use that and repurpose it or share that information on your own site as well. Now, like Karen mentioned, I've got 30 different content ideas that are absolutely free. If you go to getasmartblog.com/girlfriends, you're going to be able to download for free this list of 30 different content ideas, and they're specific to stuff you would want to do in the mortgage industry, and it can give you a lot of ideas of what you can put into your blog. This slide, what we're going to do is I want to show you just some outsourcing options for content. If you want to have someone else write content for you, you can do it relatively inexpensive. I've put 3 of them on here. One is textbroker.com. This is where you can go in and you just put out a project, and it's specific to people that write content, and you can choose the level of content you want, the quality, and that determines the price. But you can just put out the kind of articles. Say you want 5 articles a month on your specific topic area. Go to TextBroker, set up a project, and put it out there. And you'll have people from all over the world who are competing, and they'll actually send you articles. You get to approve them. You can even ask for revisions, and then once they're done, they get paid. So kind of a cool way to be able to get that done outsourced if you want. And then Odesk and Elance are more of third-party resources where you can hire people for not just content, but literally anything you want done. I have employees that work with our company all over the world through these services. So Odesk is cool because they actually do time tracking. It's like their own HR system within the service. So that's the one I primarily use. And then Elance is more of a project-based. If you have a specific project you want done, you can put it out there and get bids on it, and then you can actually just accept the bid.
Michael, there's another one that if you do like, absolutely love an article, but you want to rewrite it in your own words, there's something called SpunWrite, SPUNWRITE. You submit the article, and they rewrite the whole article 3 times for you. And you can go in and edit it if you want to, or change it and ask them to rewrite it. So it sounds like it's coming from you, but has the same general outline and content.
Oh my gosh, that is awesome. Thank you, Karen. I'm definitely going to be using that one myself then.
Okay.
that's fantastic. I love there's so many of these cool services that are coming up all the time that really allow you to do this stuff and do it easily and even outsource or automate it. The next slide here is, as people are looking at this, how can you make these look different? And again, you can see this is Jeanette. She's a client with Pinnacle Capital Mortgage. And so here's just another example of how you just even changing and getting a good quality header image, get a totally different look and feel. And when people go there, it's a nice, clean layout. And, people see it. It tells them the story right away. And they feel comfortable then digging in a little deeper and getting into the content, which, of course, is what then builds the character and the credibility. The next slide that we have here is, again, I just wanted to reiterate the power of using WordPress as that center of the nerve center of your communications, and being able to broadcast content. Because what I want to show you now is something that's very valuable to you, which are the actual third-party services that do the syndication work for you. And by the way, they're free. You can go ahead and employ these once you have your website set up and everything dialed in, and then just get started with these services. And every time you put something in your WordPress blog, it will automatically go out through all of your social media networks. You don't have to do any extra work at all. So that really streamlines the process. So in the next slide, I'm going to show you, here's 2 of them. One of them is ping.fm, and the other one is linksalpha.com. Now, a lot of people think about Hootsuite, which is a great service that I use as well. But the thing is that Hootsuite, these are a little different than that, in that these are actual syndication services that automate the process. So they monitor your website, and every time there's something new, they then automatically syndicate it. Hootsuite is a little bit different. It's a great management tool because then you can actually personally interact, put out content. You can even pre-schedule it, and then you could submit it to multiple outlets. And that's great. It's something you should definitely use for your own personal flavor as you're getting information out to the web. It's very convenient. But these are a little bit different, so you don't want to substitute Hootsuite for what I'm talking about here. You want to use one of these syndication services, ping.fm or linksalpha.com. Next slide. And the one that we actually use is called Deliverit, DLVR.it. And again, these are free. It's very simple to set up. Once you have your blog set up, you just go in, set up a free account, and then establish what we call publishing pathways, and it will automatically, again, monitor your blog, and every time there's an update, automatically put that out to your social media networks, creating links, or what we call backlinks, that when someone sees that information and clicks on the link, it takes them right back to your website. And that, my friends, is the way that you want to drive traffic. That's going to be the best quality traffic, people who already feel that they have some kind of connection either personally to you or through a personal connection, and that's leveraging the referral business online, really taking advantage of that viral communication. So, next slide. I'm going to show you a real-life example of how this works and why we came up with the smart blog concept. I got into a consulting conversation with one of the top mortgage loan officers in the entire country. His name is Michael Addison down in Dallas, Texas. And he was struggling with three things. Number one is the same thing we've been talking about. He had a lot of people who were looking for him online or trying to connect with him, and he felt like he didn't have a good quality image. He was trying to hire graphic designers himself and, quite frankly, being very frustrated, not getting what he wanted. But he understood that he needed a better quality image where people could find him and it portrayed him as the professional he wanted them to see. The second thing is he literally had hundreds, in his case he had over 1,000, I think a couple thousand people at the time, that were in his social media networks that he knew that they were there. Now, he had a lot of systems in place. This guy does almost $100 million a year every single year in volume, so lots of good systems in place. He had his newsletter system in place. He had an email newsletter with rate updates that went out on a weekly basis. He even has people that answer his phones for him. But the key is that he saw this opportunity that all these people were connecting through social media, and he had no way to consistently communicate and remind them of what he did, and he knew that those people in social media, that was his sphere of influence, which is where most of his business was driven from. So he was really struggling with trying to figure that out, and in fact, in his case, he was doing what I call the 2 a.m. beat your head against the computer screen, trying to set a website up for himself, and a WordPress website. So when we got into a consulting conversation, on the phone, we started talking about these things, and he said, hey, here's the things that I want. I want to be able to look great online. I want to be able to stay in front of the most important people who drive my referral business, which are in the social media networks, and I'd like to look at a solution. And I said, of course, knowing technology and understanding the mortgage industry, I said, hey, I know that if we throw enough money at it, we can build it, right? So basically he did. He said, yeah, let's do it. But the one caveat he had is he's a smart guy, and he said, you know what I know though, Michael, is if I pay you this pretty egregious amount of money to build this system for me, and you just turn it over and hand it back over to me, and I actually have to get in and do anything, it just won't happen. I'm too busy. I won't focus in it, and it'll kind of be a waste of money. So that was the real challenge, is how do we build this system and at its foundation make it completely automated so that he looks professional, has good quality content going out, and syndicating to all his most important people, but he doesn't have to log in and do it. Well, let me show you how that works. So what we did is we built the site. We do the graphic design. All the graphic design through the site, everything we've talked about. We automatically tie it through to your social media networks and put the syndication pieces in place. And then the last part is we actually write the content for you every single business day so that you don't have to. Now, next slide. With Michael's site, what you see here is where this arrow is pointing is a story that we write. It's a blog post. This particular one was pending home sale slip in July creates buyer opportunity. All of these are going to be mortgage and real estate related content pieces, credibility building with no sales messages. These are the types of things that when you syndicate them are high value items that people really do like to hear about, and they like to read about, and they like to share. And yet, every time that they do that, they're again thinking of who it is that put the information out, and that's what builds credibility in their mind. So we're going to write that for you every single business day. And then what happens is it automatically then publishes to your website. So you don't have to do anything. You just wake up in the morning, you're going to get an email saying, hey, congratulations, My Smart Blog just posted your content to your website, and it'll give you an excerpt so you know what it is if anybody asks. Then what happens is once that hits the website, it actually automatically then syndicates and shows up in your Facebook business page. So you see here where it automatically creates that little snippet with the hyperlink that goes right back to Michael's website. And I want to point out too, this is they just changed the layout of Facebook, so I don't have the most current slide up here right now. But we do include in our system not just the graphic design on the website, but also the graphic design in your social media networks to get what we call cross-platform brand consistency. This is what all the big companies do in order to build credibility, even at a subconscious level. We want to make sure that when people find you on Facebook and they click through the link, that what they see on Facebook matches what they see on the site. That builds internally, subconsciously, more credibility, and again, makes you look like $1 million online. Next slide. Here's the important part. I want to show you. A lot of people struggle with, well, should I put this content out in my personal profile or not? Well, let me tell you something, too. But most people's business comes from their sphere of influence. And if you look at the statistics, it always has held up true. It's been for the last 15 years. Since I've been watching it, it's been the same. It'll be the same forever because in high relationship sales, your business comes from people who know, like, and trust you and are willing to refer you to the people they know, like, and trust. And so when you're not putting sales messages out but putting high-value, credibility-building information, people appreciate that, and it also reminds them of what you do, creating top-of-mind awareness, and that's what drives your business. In Michael's case, he has over 1,500 friends in his Facebook account, and every single day they're getting some, one time, a piece of information that is credibility building and related to his industry. Now, some people say, well, isn't that too much? Are you going to flood people? Let me tell you something. News feeds run really quickly on Facebook, and the odds of all 1,500 people seeing anything on any given day are pretty much zero. But the thing is that they all have the opportunity to see something or a group of things throughout the month, and it's the consistency of it happening which creates the power in it. Don't worry about it being overwhelming with just putting out one good quality piece of content a day. You're not going to overwhelm people, but you do want to have that consistency so they see it 3, 4, 5, 6 times a month. And yeah, some people will see it every day. That's okay. They're the ones that are most in tune. And quite frankly, if you're putting out the right kind of content, people enjoy it anyway. So the key with this, though, is if you think about this from an investment perspective, you can send out 300 postcards one time a month, most of which are going in the trash. I still am a big believer in direct mail because you need to stay in front of people's faces, get something tangible in their hands just to remind them of you. But it still costs over $120 a month for just the postage on 300 postcards. He can get out to 1,500 people on a daily basis and do it for less than $100 a month, and he doesn't even have to write the content or publish it. So pretty good investment. Next slide. It also goes through to his LinkedIn account where he's able to, he has over 2,700 people he's connected to on on Twitter. And then next slide. Also, he has over 600 connections in his LinkedIn account that also see this content on a daily basis with links back to his website. So you can see in his case, over 5,000 people on a daily basis have the opportunity to be reminded of who he is, what he does, and in a professional way. And the best part of our system, next slide, is that he has never had to log in over 15 months to be able to actually make this system happen. See, he employed a system that's automated and outsourced that its foundation will continue to market for him continuously. He never has to do a thing to maintain it. That doesn't mean he can't get in and do it if he wants, but he does what I think is the most important part, is he actually does still go in and he goes into LinkedIn and sends out connection requests when he meets people to continue to build that sphere. He goes into Facebook and puts some personal flavor in there, the stuff that he wants to share personally. And that's the important part. Once you have people in the network, give them some good quality credibility information consistently, but then also go in and do the fun stuff, which is participate and engage in some conversation and start to use those resources as part of your marketing plan. So let me go through now. I hope that you feel like you've gotten a ton of resources, a ton of information. A lot of people at this point, they're saying, hey, it's great, except it sounds like a lot of work, and I'd prefer to just have this. If I could just push the easy button like they have on those commercials, just push the easy button and it all just happened for me, maybe that would make sense. Well, next slide. So I'll ask you the same thing. Are you ready to push the easy button? If you are, let's go ahead and I'll show you exactly how that works. One more thing I just wanted to share with you quickly. This is another one of our great clients, Charu Shah. She's down in Tennessee. Excuse me. I have people all over the country, so sometimes I lose the place that they're in. But she's in Tennessee, and this was interesting. She was one of our first clients, actually, loves the service, gets the automated systems going for her, and then still sees that she has time to go out and do her regular work, the high-profit activities, while she knows this is happening for her. One of the other things I like to make sure that people understand is what the normal investment would be in order to get a system like this put together. These are competitor websites that are out there today, and great companies, by the way. If you want a custom site done, and you want to invest this level of money to get that done, these would be great companies to use. Now, what I like to point out about this is simply that when you look at the range of pricing, at the very low end, $750, it really just includes an installation. It's what you could do if you just started up your own account and went in and installed your WordPress and then put a theme in. That's basically what with some plugins installed. That's what you get at the very basic level. What our product really compares with is more of this mid-level, which is more of the $2,000 level in terms of the implementation. And even then, a lot of our features, like our social media syndication and our content, none of the other companies even offer that. We're really the only ones that do that. But at what you get as far as the website alone is usually competes at about a $2,000 level. So next slide. This is another competitor that's out in the marketplace today doing the same thing. These are all WordPress development companies, and you'll see that it ranges from $1,000 up to about $3,000. So what you're going to see normally is somewhere between that $1,000 to $4,000, but the comparative price that we actually work with is about the $2,000 price point. Again, just another example of one of our clients that's out in Hawaii. This guy's name is John Welch, and again, a great guy living in a great place, right, in Hawaii. But what I loved about this particular, he sent me an email just the other day, and he said, hey, this, with his My Smart blog, as we launched that just about 6 months ago, he's actually closed an extra 5 sales, which equaled a huge amount of revenue. That kind of tangible evidence of success is exciting to see when you know you're providing a good service, and you just like to be able to hear back from customers of how well it's working. And I just wanted to share that with you as well. So the next slide. Here's what the Smart Blog system does. We're going to build an entire website for you, the entire WordPress website with all of the plugins we've talked about, premium theme, do all of your graphic design. We have all, like I said, all the plugins that we talked about will be installed in the site. We also, the $1 Million Branding Package, which is us actually doing not just the site work and doing the graphic design, but also on your social media networks. If you don't have your social media networks set up, and I'm talking the core 4 at this point, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, and YouTube, we'll actually go and set them up for you, and we'll put all the appropriate backgrounds in place or the images in place so you get that brand consistency. We're going to take care of all that for you. Also, the social media syndication, we're going to put that in place so that once the site's built, it will automatically syndicate your content through your social media networks. We're also going to be creating your content for you, and that includes, we have seed content that already comes in place. We've got about 10 pages of mortgage-related content that's already in place. Lead capture systems like Rate Quote Widget, we already have pre-installed in the system. You just have to be able to sign up for an account for free, and we'll get that up and running for you. And the YouTube video marketing, pre-installed, enabled. All you have to do is just give us your YouTube account, and we'll actually cut and paste and install the videos for you. So it's completely done for you. The thing that I like to tell people with our system, all you're responsible for is a 30-minute conversation with our designer, and we do the rest. We have what we call a no-fail policy, which means that we're not going to allow our customers to fail because we're going to do it for you. It is truly the social media easy button with that concierge-style service. Next slide. We also want to continue to educate you as time goes on, and if you have time and want to tie in with us, we do weekly group coaching calls where we teach things about the website and how to more effectively use that, but we also do internet marketing skills, social media tactics, breaking news. We share new tips and tricks. Every single week on a webinar format, Tuesday mornings, we actually go in and we do an hour-long coaching class, and then we do live question and answer. We'll stay on the phone with you as long as you have questions in order to get you taken care of every Tuesday morning. Now, next slide. We also have our Smart Blog University, so at your own pace, if you want to learn more, we have over 100 videos, things on WordPress itself. You can learn more than you'd ever want to learn. If you learned everything in our training series, you'd probably be in the business selling WordPress websites. But there's at least the amount that will get you the basics of understanding how to manage the site yourself if you choose to. Also our Facebook training course, Facebook Zero to Hero. And then we have our Twitter Success video series. We have a LinkedIn training series. We have content development stuff. We have SEO stuff that's in there just at the basic level, what we think is important. All that stuff is included in our membership, and you can access it at any time. And I like to remind people that any one of these courses, you could spend a few $100s on paying for a course. What we know is that, again, we bought the unlimited rights to these courses so that we could offer them to our membership. And it's a good investment for the long term to be able to help you learn the information you need once you have the foundation in place so you can really maximize it and generate a lot of income from it. Here's what we're going to do is we're also going to do throw in a few extra things for you in order to get you off and running more rapidly. One of the things you need is credibility online, and some of that comes from like a Facebook business page. If you only have 2 or 3 fans on there, sometimes people don't want to be just the fourth. People tend to operate where they want to do what everybody else is doing. So there are ways to go through and be able to get you more fans and more Twitter followers right away. These aren't going to be people who are going to turn into business for you, but they just boost up the numbers so that you look more credible online. So when someone comes in, they feel like they're the 503rd person rather than the third person. And so what we're going to do is anyone who decides to move forward with us, we're going to actually give you 500 Facebook fans and 500 Twitter followers absolutely for free, no cost to you. We're going to include it in the system just, again, to build that online image and be able to get more credibility online. The other thing we're going to do is we're going to actually include over 100 articles. When we install your website, there's going to be over 100 published blog articles that are already pre-installed in your site so that it gives some depth. So the first time that Google actually crawls your site, it won't just be with the first article in it. It'll actually be 101 articles in there. So a lot of depth of content, and if people come to your site, it'll look as if you've been doing this for a long time because you'll have all those articles already pre-installed in your website. Next slide. Another thing that I'm doing, and this is actually only for Mortgage Girlfriends, it's a new program that we're launching, and I think we all struggle with this. I got a picture on this slide of these cards that are stacked up in the rubber bands, and most of us all have these stacks. We go out, we meet people, we collect business cards, and then we put them in our desk or on our desk or in our drawer, and we know that we should be getting back to them, but we don't. It just gnaws at us. Well, one of the things that we want to do for you is we have a virtual assistant social media launch that we're going to do. Now, what we're going to do is if you have up to 200 business cards of people who you want to put into your social media networks, maybe even get them into a database so you can start marketing to them effectively, we're going to actually take, you can either scan them or just put them in an envelope and mail them to us. We're going to take up to 200 business cards, get them into a database for you, and then we're physically going to go out and make those invitations in your social media account to start getting you a network built if you don't already have one. So this is a solution for a lot. If you're like me, because I have these stacks also, and just recently I tested it out myself. Anything that works for me, I'm going to turn around and offer it to our subscribers. We're going to answer that solution for you. And again, this is a trial program. It's only available here. It's the only place I've ever offered it. It's a huge value if you had to hire someone to go through and do all this stuff. We're going to do it for you for free if you decide to move forward with a smart blog. Next slide. The last thing I want to do is make sure that you understand that we have a 100% satisfaction guarantee. A big fear that people have in web development is that they're going to lay out a bunch of money. It's going to be this long, drawn-out process. They're never going to get what they want, and they're going to give up. And I, of course, don't want that to happen either. Our development process is 48 to 72 hours as long as you just give us what we need. We need a 30-minute conversation and need you to forward a few pieces of information to us and give us access to some accounts so that we can get everything set up for you appropriately. But as long as you just do that, 48 to 72 hours, this is going to be up and running, publishing content, syndicating, and helping you make money. Now, here's my guarantee to you. If that doesn't happen and you decide to move forward and we somehow fail, which we've never done before and I've never had to honor this yet, if you decide that you don't think that it was worth what you invested in our system, I'm going to give your money back. See, at the end of the day, I work by referral. And what I know is I want happy people out in the marketplace telling our story. And the last thing I want someone to invest money and feel like they wasted their money and not be able to tell a good story about my company. So I want you to know that if you do decide to move forward, we're going to do everything we can. We'll bend over backwards to make sure that you get exactly what we promised and that you're extremely happy. And but I want you to know that if you make the decision to move forward too, if for some reason that didn't work out on your end, then we'll be happy to refund your money right away. So let's go ahead and get into it. What does that cost? We talked about it could cost up to $2,000. Well, we spent time selling this system all over the country at $997, which was half price of what anyone else would just do the site for, plus we were doing all the content and the syndication piece as well. But here's the good news. So we decided to lower the price for Mortgage Girlfriends in order to take an additional, about 30% or so off of that price to make it to where it almost becomes a no-brainer. When you think about spending 20 to 40 hours and going through all the brain damage of learning how to put all this stuff together yourself, you say, wait a second, for just a few $100s, I could actually have an entire system up and running and working for me like the top producers in the country are doing, and I could have that happen in just 48, 72 hours or so. Does it make sense to do that so that I can just take that time and energy and spend it in originating mortgages, close another extra deal, and actually pay for this 4 times over? That's the offer we want you to look at. And so what you see on the screen right now, we've cut about 35% off the price. It's only $597. So for less than $600, you have an entire site. Now that includes also a number of other things I'm going to go through here. So the first thing is that we include for you 60 days of our gold membership within that $597 price. Now that's $97 a month, which is after the 60 days, you pay only less than $100 a month, and we'll write over 20 articles a month for you, publish to your website, and syndicate those, and we'll continue to do that. We do all of your hosting, tech support, and database backup. The tech support, I have to qualify that. That's break-fix tech support, meaning if the site breaks, we'll fix it for free. We also have premium tech support where we actually become your virtual assistant at a very low rate, too, so that's another option. That's because you're a member, you get a very low rate for that. And then we have our weekly group coaching and Smart Blog University and all the other benefits. So, but for the first 60 days, which is almost a $200 value, it's included in the $597. So you get this for a nice long test drive, 60-day test drive. We're building the site, you're seeing it happen, it's working before you ever have to participate in the membership. Now we have over a 94% retention rate. So when people start on their system, they don't quit, because everybody is looking for that system that just works and they don't have to do it themselves, and we finally come up with a way to deliver that. Next slide. Here's the last piece about it, is that we actually said we want to make this so low of an entry point that anyone who wants to get this started in their business can get started right away. And so what we've done is we've got a limited time, zero interest 2-pay plan. What that means is you take the $597, you can break that into 2 payments, $298.50. So that'll be charged one payment right away, 1 payment in 30 days. We're going to build the site immediately. We're going to get it up and running. You're going to still have access to the entire, all of the membership elements that I described. And just to remind you, that's less than $300 for a $2,000 website. Do that with you. So two payments, $298.50. After 60 days, in that third month, that's when the $97 a month membership would start, and then that's all you would do, $97 a month, which is what I was saying, for unlimited numbers of people seeing that information on a consistent basis. So I hope you decide that, like me, that if you value your time and you know what you can do in terms of originating loans, that you see this as a way to automate and outsource and get a very high-quality product at a very low investment, and you take us up on the offer, because at the end of the day, my goal for you is that you have this system working and you start generating referral business through the social media landscape, but not requiring yourself to sit at a computer and point and click yourself. I put here on this slide all of my contact information where you can connect with me on social media networks. My phone number is on there so you can reach me directly, as well as any questions you have, just send them in to support@mysmartblog.com. And remember that you can go to getasmartblog.com/girlfriends, getasmartblog.com/girlfriends, and that's exactly where you would go to be able to take advantage of this special offer. It'll have the Buy Now link right there on the website, as well as some detailed information about all of the things that are included in the presentation. And so just go there, click on the link, and get started, and we'll be excited to be able to get a hold of you right away and get your site up and running so you can start marketing yourself effectively and professionally through social media.
Hey, Michael, thank you. Hey, I wanted to let you know that I don't endorse any product or service that I haven't tried myself. So I have to let you know that I paid Michael's team to build a WordPress blog for me, Mortgage Talking Points, and it took less than 48 hours and a couple of emails back and forth, so it was up and running. It connects with my Twitter and my Facebook fan page, so check it out when you have a chance. Also, Michael is part of the Mortgage Speakers Bureau, so if you'd like to hire him as a consultant for your company or an association meeting to talk about social media and blogging, check out mortgagespeakersbureau.com. So here's a couple questions to ask yourself. Do you think a blog will help you increase your business based on what Michael shared with you? Do you have time to build a blog yourself? And do you have time to write content on a regular basis? So please check out the link that he's given us, the special Mortgage Girlfriends link, because that's a huge discount. And it is really the easy button to creating a better social media presence than you ever thought possible. Thanks for attending this class.